What's going on, everybody? We are live on our Spotlight series, and I have my lovely guest, Meaghan Faragasso, the autoimmune healer. Meaghan, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I work with people specifically with autoimmune diseases on with weight loss and also with eliminating symptoms. So what we're able to do is use whole food nutrition to customize it so that we're able to put any autoimmune disease into remission. So what that means is that you still technically have the autoimmune disease, but you won't have any symptoms that are going to be affecting your lifestyle.
That's awesome. Can you give me a couple of examples of some of these diseases?
Lupus, Hashimoto's. We do work with a lot of like colitis and Crohn's, rheumatoid arthritis. All of these, even eczema and psoriasis can be treated in the same manner.
That's really cool. And I'm going to guess you focus primarily on diet, right?
Yes, it's nutrition based, but there are a lot of components of how you move your body that can either cause a flare up or can help your body heal. So we do have to address those things. If you're constantly pushing your body in a way that's causing your body to respond in an autoimmune response, then we kind of got to put a handle on that too.
Okay, so here's the question, because I am very, very naive to all of this.
Sure, most people are, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know the Crohn's because my buddy has it, and he works with me. So, is it specific, like how people have to move? Is it specific to the disease, or is it specific to the individual?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is more specific to the individual than to disease. There are some commonalities that with different diseases, but in general, autoimmune is this. It's the same way. It's the body's immune response that kind of keeps firing and doesn't stop. And it's just which organs it's attacking is just kind of how it plays out in each individual's body. But if we get the immune response under control, it doesn't really matter where it's going to stop responding in that area of your body. So it just kind of plays out differently in different people, but it's really just getting the immune response under control.
Understood. How much, man, there's so many places I could take. This is awesome. I haven't even asked you anything about business. I'm just so curious. This is me asking for me, actually.
Yeah.
So, I apologize if it seems a little selfish, but I like learning about this.
Yeah.
How much do you feel diet plays a role, and especially with, I think, the amount of processed shit that everybody eats? A lot of people don't know how to eat, and a lot of people don't treat it as fuel. They treat it as enjoyment. So how much of a role does that play in, and how do you coach and educate people on those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's huge. I mean, if we can eliminate all of your symptoms by changing your diet, then obviously the reverse would be true as well, right? And some people are just more susceptible, or they're more sensitive, maybe, right? They're kind of prone to having an autoimmune response, whereas other people can get away with treating their bodies like garbage and nothing happens, right? So, what ends up happening is that I think there's a whole conglomeration of things, because we have all these toxins that are coming into our environment. So it's not just food; it's being attacked from all different. And our body can't detox fast enough, right? We also have like so many scents and endocrine disruptors and plastics and things, our air quality, all that stuff. And so the food could either be our medicine and help us detox better, or it can slow down that process and it can make us more sick. The problem is that autoimmune diseases are increasing. Hundreds of thousands are being diagnosed every day. More people diagnosed every day, even just in America. Yeah. And there are tons of people that are not diagnosed. When I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease, they were like, you have autoimmune responses, but it's not really anything. We can't find any particular antibody. It doesn't really. So there's lots of that too. People are just like, I feel like garbage, but they can't, my quality of life is going down. I have joint pain, I have brain fog, I have bloating, I have all these things, but I guess that's just insomnia. I guess that's just my life. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be.
Yeah. So, what are some of the best foods people can eat to detox?
Yeah, so it's fruits and vegetables are really good in detoxing. In terms, and one of the interesting things is if you really need to detox the body, the removing fats and proteins slow down the detox process. Doesn't mean these are bad for you, right? But in terms of if you're just asking about detox, that is the best. So, for instance, my son gets a vaccine. The next day for breakfast, I'm giving him fresh fruit and fruit smoothies and things. There's not be any fat or any protein, just to help his little body detox better from the junk that's in there, along with the good stuff, this bad stuff. So,
Yeah, I got you.
mhm.
What are some of the worst foods that people can eat when they're trying to clean up their diet or you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the processed things, the hydrogenated oils, sugars, but particularly what I call bastardized sugars or really overly processed foods. Those can be really bad. Also, alcohol, and then with certain autoimmune diseases, there's also a strong response to gluten and dairy, though it's not with everyone. And what's interesting about autoimmune diseases is also there comes things where people think they're eating healthy, but there's a lot of things that can cause flare-ups that are weird. Like with Hashimoto's, there's a bunch of vegetables. Usually, it's individuals. For each
Yeah.
person, it's different, but certain vegetables will cause flare-ups. And so people eat tons of vegetables and like, well, I'm thought I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So it can become more specific, but in general, fruits and vegetables are excellent for detoxing.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. What is something that the average person or the public doesn't know about autoimmune disease that they should know?
Yeah. One thing I think is that trauma can trigger it. So what I've found is a lot of mothers suffer from autoimmune disease uh, when after having childbirth, and they're told when they're, oh, of course you're tired, of course you can't remember anything anymore, of course you feel like garbage, you're a new mom.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it takes until their kids are 18 and like, I still feel like garbage.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is right, that they realize there is something wrong with them. And I think we're often dismissed in the medical community how people feel, but particularly new moms, when their bodies can really be triggered into these diseases, and they're just kind of pushed off as, life is hard now. Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. And so, how did you get into this?
I had my own issues with thyroid and autoimmune disease, and I've been in the wellness industry for 25 years, and I was able to cure myself of food allergies, of multiple autoimmune issues, and also thyroid issues, major thyroid issues. And I did it all with food. And these are things that the doctors were like, well, they're just gonna be the way it's gonna be for the rest of your life. You can try to manage it with medications, but this is just how your life is. And I didn't accept that. It's not how I wanted my life to be. So, and then in my industry, like just in work, I started seeing about 80% of my clients that were coming to me for weight loss had these other symptoms. And it was making, one, weight loss more difficult, and two, it was affecting their lives. I work a lot with CEOs of businesses, entrepreneurs, celebrities, people that need to function. They cannot afford to be sick, right? Like they need to function at a high level. So because of that, we found that there were things that they just thought were chronic issues, like I said, that they didn't know where they were coming from, that I was able to send them to their doctor and say, can you test for these things? Can you see what's going on?
Yeah.
And I started seeing patterns and being able to use some of what I had used and keep kind of transforming it and customizing it for people, and found a way to create programming that works. And I've been able to help thousands of people that way.
That is awesome. So how long have you had the autoimmune healer?
Well, I've been in the nutrition business for 25 years. I have incorporated the autoimmune healer and started working exclusively with people with autoimmune diseases for about 2.5 years now.
Awesome. And what made you decide to be an entrepreneur? Like, what was that moment in your head where, like, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 2, made my first, profits in 7. So, um, and was giving away, profits to shelters when I was, 7. So it's been a fun journey for me. I like, for me, like just freedom in being able to dictate my own life is such richness to me. That is being rich to me. Having control over who I work with. So I choose my clients, right? I don't work with anyone if I don't want to work with them. I don't to go into a toxic work environment in any way. I get to choose when I work and when I don't work, and I get to choose the parts of the job that I love, and I get to delegate the parts that I don't love. So there's nothing better than it. And I've gone back and I've worked for companies here and there. And what I've done is I've learned from the mistakes they were making with their money and saw what they were doing. I was like, this is ridiculous, and just did it better on my own.
I love it. Yeah, me too, actually. That's exactly how I started doing what I did. I was consulting for a lot of the banks. I'm like, you guys cannot get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And I just took what they did well, enhanced it, and whatever I thought they were doing wrong, I improved it.
Remove the bureaucracy. Yeah.
Yep. And here I am,
Yeah.
So that's an awesome story. What are some of the biggest challenges or struggles you faced in being an entrepreneur, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the biggest problem is scaling without losing what really makes the business unique. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to delegate and to hire people, but it's very difficult to hire people that care about your business and your clients the same way you do. And then on top of that, it's difficult to start scaling, and people talk about automating things or creating more passive income, but then you start. I find it's hard. I start managing more, P&Ls and cash flow rather than actually working one-on-one with people, which really gives me a lot of joy. So it's finding that balance, I think, between making a good living and, being able to provide for the lifestyle that your family needs, and also waking up every morning excited about what you're creating, and figuring out a way. I think for me, I'm still figuring out a way to help more people. I want to help more people on a major scale, and doing that and keeping it still kind of cozy.
I get that. Trust me, I get that. What are some of the things that you feel separates your business from others and other competitors? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so there's a lot of weight loss and fitness companies out there, and they do a lot of cookie cutter stuff. They do, here's a plan, here's your workout, and this works. And what I do is very customized. There is a process of a metabolic reset, a hormone reset, a detox in order to kind of figure out which foods are causing the flare-ups and whatnot. But other than that, it gets really customized, and there's not a lot of people. I think I'm the only person in the country that actually does what I do with nutrition in terms of really eliminating the symptoms completely. So, you get the rewards of feeling better, looking better, but also, like I said, being able to perform your life at whatever level you want.
I love it. So You said there's a process. Take us through your normal process of new clients coming to you. How do you start that? Where does that start? And what, take us through those steps.
So how I acquire new clients, you mean?
Oh, no.
What?
Like onboarding, like,
onboarding.
Okay. Yeah. Like take us through your normal client journey.
Okay. Yeah. So the first week, what we do is we do it's actually the first 21 days of every program. Anyone that comes to me, no matter what illness they have, what they're dealing with, we do a 21-day metabolic reset. And there I use specific foods. So they're all whole foods. And they're very micronutrient dense. And we use very specific foods. And every day you have a meal plan that you follow. And we eliminate all of the vitamin deficiencies. By the third day, there are absolutely no vitamin deficiencies because we've kind of hit the entire gamut of micronutrients that are necessary for the body. And so the excess hunger goes away. A lot of symptoms go away just within that period. But from there, we kind of, it's what I call a reverse diet. And we train the body and the metabolism to fire and become a fat burning furnace. So we do a metabolic manipulation where we kind of manipulate the amount of foods different days, so that the metabolism starts speeding up, and that gives people a win too. They start seeing a lot of inflammation, all that like water they were holding on from massive inflammation, and all the excess fat just kind of starts to fall off. And so during that 21 days, you're losing 21 pounds in that first 21 days. And it's a mixture of fat and inflammation. And then at the end of that process, your metabolism's kind of spiked and the hormones start to level out. You start to see people are sleeping much better. I had a client who was on Ambien for 20 years, and within the first week, she was off and never had to go back. So that's how important those hormones are and regulating them is. And then we go through, once the hormones are regulated, we go through and kind of start testing certain foods, and the body is healed during those 3 weeks. It takes 2.5 to 3 weeks for any toxin to get out of your bloodstream. So anything that could be causing it, you could have an intolerance to. It has to take that long. So people sometimes say, well, I just have chronic headaches, migraines but I don't eat this, it's that food. And you say, well, I only eat that food once a week or once every 2 weeks, but it's still in the bloodstream. So it's causing the chronic problem. So once we get those things out and the body starts healing, then when we reintroduce it, that's when we see a more drastic response. And we can start to identify which foods are causing flare-ups and which foods are causing the issues and which ones aren't. And then I do a very important process, which is what I call introducing new foods. And because a lot of times you can't just take foods away from people, and then all of a sudden they feel deprived, right? And then they feel they'll start binging on that food or crave that food. So sustainability is very important to me. So I have not had any client who's gone through a 6-month program who has ever had any of the issues come back, and any of the weight loss come back, the autoimmune issues. And that's because they learn a process about their bodies, coping mechanisms. They learn, we introduce so many new foods to that their body does assimilate the nutrition well from, so that then they're able to just not, like I said, not feel deprived and feel like they're loving life and loving food and
that's awesome.
Still staying healthy.
That is awesome. What do you think some of the keys are to identifying someone has these issues? Because I feel like what you said earlier, a lot of people might not know.
Yeah, it's really hard, Jonathan. I mean, a lot of people go to their doctors and their doctor's just like, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with you. And we are live in the information age where you don't want to Google your symptoms, that could be a terrible rabbit hole to go down, definitely if you're dying. So, it's very difficult. I think just if it's just like business and health and all of the things in life, if there's something you want that you don't have, you seek out people who have done it. who have done what you want to do, and you hire them to mentor you so that you can get there. So, if you're having symptoms that are deterring your life and holding you back from what you want, then seek someone that can help you.
I love it. There's a lot of fads going around, right?
Yeah, always.
So what are some of the ones that if someone has one of these autoimmune diseases, what are some that can be really toxic, and what are some that can work somewhat well or achieve what they're trying to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so individualized. I think some of the more toxic ones for people with autoimmune diseases, um, they all are, but keto oftentimes can cause more issues because of the hormone. It really affects hormones tremendously. And people with autoimmune diseases already have out of whack hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So putting another strain, it can make it much more difficult you can have this insulin resistance and metabolic damage that can happen at a rate that's harder to come back from than it would be from a healthy person.
Got it. That makes sense. How do you feel about fasting?
Yeah, fasting can be very healing if it's done right. I think most people say they're fasting and they're just, it's doing something. They're usually consuming other foods that are spiking their blood sugar throughout, like drinks or something throughout the day. But it can be extremely healing. You can heal all of your organs from a long-term fast, but it needs to be done properly under supervision. And I have some clients who are able to manage their symptoms very well with fasting, and other people it doesn't work at all. It can cause more brain fog and more issues. So, but those long-term fasts, when they can be very healing, done in small spurts.
What would you consider a long-term fast?
Anything over 24 hours.
Okay.
So not these intermittent fasts, right? But then the long-term fast, 48 hours, usually, 48 hours plus is when you start getting some really healing benefits. And the longer they go, if you can do a week fast and stuff, they can do some but they have to be done, like I said, properly. You can throw your electrolytes off and you can have heart issues. You need to do it, with help and not just, well, I'm just not going to eat.
What are so I'll give you, and I don't know if you can or can't, what are some of the rumors or misnomers around fasting? Because whenever I fasted, people juice fast, and I get what you're saying with the blood sugar, it raises, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've done them with just water and black coffee.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are some of the things that you should avoid when fasting, and what are some of the things that people should do when fasting?
Yeah, well, it does depend too on what the intention of the fast is, right? So you can do a great fast with where you don't even have to juice. You can keep all the fiber in there if you're not trying to heal your gut, right? So you can do smoothie fast, which is kind of a type of juice fast. But one of the benefits of doing a complete juice fast, or what you did, just coffee, water, is that you're able to rest the gut, so the gut can heal too. So that's what's really nice about that. I'd like to think of it like if you're taking an old house and you're demoing it, mm-hmm. and you're getting all these shards of stuff, and then you're putting the pieces into the garbage disposal, and they're going through the garbage disposal and they're spitting out new 4x4s and new plywood and new, screws and nails. And those are the building blocks, because it's the only time after a long-term fast, the only time we're creating those new stem cells. So that's how we can kind of take out all the damaged cells that are in those organs, and then we can replace it with the new stem cells. And one of the things with the coffee is with the caffeine can increase your insulin. Mm-hmm. So, it's not ideal, but if that's what gets you through the fast, that's what gets you through the fast. So it's, sometimes you gotta pick your battles too. If you're never going to do a fast, if you have to do it this way, then, modify it. But I think a lot of people do use fasting as a way to just reduce their calories, and they don't learn how to manage food in a healthy way, and it can become an obsession. And they can, most eating disorders that develop, most people, 85% of people that have eating disorders don't look like they have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So, but their minds and their days are consumed with thinking about food and planning food and things like that. So we have to kind of be aware of that too. It's so how we're using, what our intentions of the fast are. But
that makes sense. I was told that it gets rid of. I want to do a 5-day. I looked at the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
They said that seems to be where you get the greatest benefit, where all the shit cells that you were referencing,
Mm-hmm.
and your body kind of kicks up into a higher gear. Just the first 2 days for me have always been absolute misery. Where I warned my team ahead of time. Hey guys, this is what's going on. Excuse me if I say or do anything. It's not me. It's the hunger talking.
Yeah. There's some like long-term fasts where you go out to like Bali and you do 30 days and you have, there's a bunch of people that are, overseeing it, and you're like out in the middle of nowhere, just chilling. Like that's ideal, right? But most of us still have to work and deal with household stuff. And so it can be very difficult.
Yeah. That's after the second day, I actually feel very clear, very good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It just getting past.
The longer you can go, the deeper the healing. So
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for anyone that may think they have this or that has this, like any type of autoimmune disease? Yeah.
Listen to your body. I think a lot of times when we are not happy with the way our bodies are, we check out and we become disassociated. And I think the first step is reassociating with our bodies. So I find that people that aren't happy, they stop looking in mirrors, they stop paying attention to the signals the body's giving them. And so kind of checking back in, really, we're told like you got to push through, just like if you're fasting, right? Your body's saying you just push through, and it creates a just massive disconnect with our body. So I think connecting back in, paying attention to the signals that your body's sending you, and then, like I said, seeking help, seeking out someone who's been there, who's done that, who can kind of guide you through and take you to where you want to go, someone that's already where you want to go.
That's the name of the game for everything, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I'm trying to think, what are some of the things that you are working on, especially maybe give an example of technology you're incorporating that is kind of changing the way you do business and making it more efficient?
That's a great question. I struggle with that. I mean, obviously, for me, I work with people all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So what's amazing about that is I can work from anywhere in the world. So I just need Wi-Fi and, even Wi-Fi, I can call people, on Wi-Fi. So, that's been extremely helpful, that I have clients, in Uzbekistan and in Cambodia and all over, and England, and, and I'm able to help them. But a lot of other things that I've tried to incorporate have been less useful. So, social media is very helpful for me. I guess that's a technology. Able to reach a lot of people and get a message across. So, but there's still, things that I haven't been able to find a solution for. So, in theory, they work, and then you end up spending more time dealing with the technology than with the people. And so,
yeah, I think we've all been had shiny object syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So Meaghan, I really appreciate you coming on. Where can somebody find you if they want to work with you, or at least get a little bit more information and guidance on what they're going through? Because every single person I know that has an autoimmune challenge,
Yep.
really it impacts almost every area of their life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm on Facebook and on Instagram at the Autoimmune Healer. Also, you can go to the autoimmunehealer.com, and you can find me on my website there. So, or the autoimmune healer at Gmail. Just email me.
Cool. Well, Meaghan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. And guys, this was Business Spotlight. If you deal with any of these